Hello everyone, welcome to Makeup by the Numbers. I'm going to go through another project pan style video where I go through all the projects that I've actually used. Of course, I don't do the actual panning, I just show you the empties because I try to empty everything. I'm going to tell you kind of how it's been used and how it worked out for me, knowing full well that I've been through the entire product and you're not getting a first impressions, you're getting a pretty solid understanding of the product. That being said, I'm going to caveat by going right into makeup removers, which won't have really much a review component to them, but let's go ahead and get started. So the first product that I'm going to go over is the Urban Hydration Peach and Papaya Micellar Water. So this is a basic micellar water. I was really struggling to find a replacement that didn't have soaps or other chemicals in them and that were true micellar waters. So I was a little hesitant seeing the scent of this product, but it ended up being lovely, affordable, and it didn't leave a residue on my skin. So in the end, I'm really glad that I picked it up. I do recommend it and I would absolutely buy it again. Now, my personal favorite is the Remedy Soap Tea Tree and Peppermint Oil. I've talked about this before. Again, there's not a lot to go over, but it is the best skin smoothing formula around. So obviously I recommend it. As long as you're not sensitive to the ingredients, which are peppermint and tea tree oil, I definitely would recommend it, and I have already purchased it again. My third project is the Pharmacy Strawberry Shortcake Clean Melt Away Cleansing Balm. Now this is a very well-known product, it's a very well-loved product, and I do love the Pharmacy line myself, but it is a little bit of a splurge for me, so I only purchased it because it was on sale, but I knew I would like it, and I did. It does smell like strawberry shortcake, and that is a little bit disconcerting, right? It has all the ingredients and the sugar and the whipped cream and the warmth that you'd expect from something that's actually cooked. It's not just strawberry scented, so they did a really good job developing that. And it works just as well as their regular product, so I'm really pleased with it and I do recommend it, and should I snag another coupon, I would buy it again. And last but not least, another product that I've reviewed in depth before, and that is the Juno Skin Makeup Removing Balm. It's a fantastic balm remover. It's the best on the market right now in my opinion, and it's one of the most affordable. It is not good for the money, it is just good. So I do recommend it, and I've already repurchased it, and in fact I think I'm on my third or fourth. For it being a relatively new product for me, it has been the go-to. So next up we're going to go move into skincare, and the first product that I have again for you is the Glow Recipe. Now this is the Avocado Ceramide Moisture Barrier Cleanser, and man, it is washed out today. Thank you for that extra lighting. There we go. Glow Recipe is another brand that I love, but this facial cleanser is just a complete miss for me. You can see how messy it is. It provides good but not great makeup removal, and it's gentle on the skin and fairly hydrating, so I think that compromised its overall effectiveness. It's a gentle soap, but there are better soaps out there. Honestly, the smell was probably the most disappointing thing for me. I do like avocado and I do love Glow Recipe, but it doesn't make for an attractive scent. And it was actually borderline unpleasant. I disliked using it. And the formula itself is also way too runny to be in a squeeze bottle, because as soon as you open the cap, it would run out, which is not only messy, but any bit of pressure meant I used way too much, and it was actually quite wasteful. And it got on my hands and made everything else messy too, so it was really disappointing. If you're looking for skincare, there's better skincare out there. If you're looking for soaps, there are more hydrating soaps, and there's better makeup removers. So this product was just really, really boring. It didn't excel in any category, and quite frankly, I'm glad this product is gone, because the makeup remover I'm using now is astonishingly good and smells amazing. So I don't recommend this, and I will not buy it again. Now we're going to turn the tables for Glow Recipe products that I do love, and that's this Watermelon Glow PHA and BHA Pore Tightening Toner. So keep this in mind, even though this looks like a mini, it's actually just the smaller size. It's not a travel size, and it lasted me about 11 months, so almost a full year, because you only need a few drops. You put it on your fingers and rub it into your face, and there's almost no wastage that way. Also, in contrast with the other product, there's this nice tiny dropper, so it isn't just running out of the bottle. It's great for oily skin. It doesn't dry me out. It didn't leave a residue. Most importantly, it was gentle enough I didn't have to immediately wash it off to keep it from drying out my skin. I could just use it as part of my skincare routine at the end of the day, and it was amazing. So far, this is my favorite toner that I've used across the board, and that's before I take into account the fact that it has this amazing watermelon scent. So I do recommend it for my oily skinned folks, though I'd be hesitant to try it with dry or combo skin, and I think I will buy it again once I make some more room in my cabinet. Now here is an unfortunate miss from Pharmacy. So this is the Pharmacy Honey Glow 17% Surfacing Acid Serum. There's more than 4 uses in this bottle, but it's, to be honest, there's not a lot in it. It's not meant for daily use though, but for me personally, again, I must just have really resilient skin. I don't see why not. There was no radiance, there was no glow. It's not cosmetic, it's true skincare. But there was no burning, no resurfacing, no refreshing of the skin. I didn't look fresher. You couldn't tell after a week of using it that I looked any different. I just don't feel confident recommending this product, not knowing if results that I experienced were typical or if it's hit and miss across the board, and without knowing exactly how it's going to relate to your personal skin. So I will not be repurchasing it for myself though. There's better chemical and physical exfoliants on the market as well. So for me, this product was a complete miss. And then last but not least, we have the Ordinary Niacinamide Drops. Now this is a great product and is a great value, but niacinamide for me is not the right product type because I am oily and it's supposed to help increase oil production. However, there were some studies that suggested that it helps you control oil production, so it could be good for us oily skinned girls. That was not my experience. Honestly, it was just another step in my skincare, which meant that it prolonged the skincare because it had to wait in between for the product to absorb properly. It didn't control my shine. If anything, I was more oily while I was using this. Niacinamide, this is my personal reaction to it. Vitamin B does make my skin flush, so it's just not the right product for me. And because there are so many products out there with niacinamide in them, I have creams and moisturizers and other products that I know I don't feel that I personally need a 10% dedicated solution unless you're very, very, very dry. That being said, the product itself is good. It is nourishing. It is good for some people. So I'm going to give the unusual combination of, I do recommend this product for the right person and for the right skin type, but I personally would not be buying it again. Third category I'm going to be reviewing today is fragrance, and just for grins and giggles, I actually have this Axe fragrance. I found this in the bottom of my gym bag and I was like, hey, why not, right? It's absolutely fun. It was totally a blast from the past in like the early 2000s when I was actually dating someone who wore this religiously, and it's been a fantastic collection. Great to cover up my after gym musk, so it was kind of fun to have. And yes, for the record, I actually do like the way they smell. So first up for perfumes, I have the Calvin Klein Eternity. For women, but it is a very unisex scent, and it's fresh and it's pleasant. But I always feel disappointed with designer fragrances. In this case, I would have liked to see a little more depth from some of the lower notes in the perfume. It wasn't very strong, it didn't have a prominent sillage, and the longevity of this perfume was only 6 to 8 hours. So although it's absolutely a fine perfume, I just expect a little bit more from designer quality. So I do recommend it if you happen to like this line of perfume and you like the scent of it, but for me personally, I demand a little bit more and I'm not going to buy it. Next up, we have the Bulgari Passeggiata. Apologize for my Italian, it's been a minute since I worked on it, but what a disappointing perfume. It's incredibly floral. It smells nothing like what you'd think Italy would smell like. It's similar to other fragrances. I want my designer perfume to be distinguishable. I want people to know what I'm wearing, and this is so floral and so heady. It just smells like every other designer super floral fragrance out there. It's really disappointing. If you have the money to spend on Bulgari, buy some of their iconic jewelry. You deserve better than smelling like whatever this is. I don't recommend this, and even if I had the money, I would definitely not be buying it. Next up, we have a small improvement in Vanilla Vibes. Okay, a tremendous improvement in Vanilla Vibes by Julia Has a Gun. It's supposed to smell like vanilla and sea salt. There aren't a lot of other notes in it, but it is true to its description, which means it's not very complex and it is a very lightweight formula. It's not terribly long lasting, 4 to 6 hours, but I think you get what you're thinking you're going to get, which is nice. If you're looking for a basic scent like this, because it is a pretty inoffensive scent, I would recommend it, but for me it's a pretty uninspired combination. I have lots of vanilla perfumes that I enjoy more, so I will not be adding it to my collection, although it was pleasant enough. And then by far my favorite is the Kilian Can't Stop Loving You. And it is a floral scent, and you know I don't like floral scents, but it's a very lightly arranged and well thought out floral balance. The dominant note being orange blossom, and that does give it a citrusy, fresher scent, but still keep that floral undertone. And it's just much more complex and balanced. I like the wear time of this more than the other perfumes, and I like the overall balance better than those other perfumes. I totally recommend it just because it is a fresh take on florals and it's not heady at all. But the reason I'm not going to buy the full size version of it is just simply because, you know, I don't vote citrus. But it is a truly mouth-watering scent, and I will keep my eye out for other samples in the line because I did enjoy this one so much. So super excited now to finally move into face products, and the first section I'm going to run through are my primers. Now, the first one I want to talk about is the Camelina Strobe Luminizing Primer. Now, I've had this in my collection for years. I think it was a BoxyCharm that came out quite a while ago, so I really had no business still having it. I should have used it a long time ago, but one of the reasons I didn't is just I prefer a matte foundation, but I figure with luminous skin being definitely in the it girl moment, I would try it, and honestly it just doesn't show up under foundation. It's not a strong enough finish to really shine through a full coverage or even a medium coverage foundation, and the pearlescent finish on its own looks really weird. It's not glowy and radiant and dewy. It really is a pearlescent sheen. It wasn't really meant to be worn by itself sans foundation. So you can use it as a highlighter, which I did several times, and it is pretty, but it's hard to control because it is so thin and emollient. It kind of does want to go everywhere, and it's too strong as a mix-in, so I couldn't use it to unmattify my matte primers. It just ended up looking like I had a little bit of glitter and a little bit of pearlescent mica in my foundation, and it wasn't actually very flattering. Maybe it sounds like it's flattering, but it wasn't. And then just to, you know, add insult to injury, not only could I not find a way that this product really shone or stood out on its own, it has an absolutely horrid scent. So I don't recommend it. I am so glad it's out of my collection. I won't be using it ever again, and I'm going to immediately throw this in the trash because I hate it. Next up, we have the Rare Beauty Pore Blurring Primer, and I did use this in its entirety. It was my favorite primer. It was the only one that actually functioned a little bit as a primer that was going for under skincare, but in my ultimate reviews where I really go into these in depth, I did kind of talk about how pore blurring primers are really a scam. They're preying on our desire to be beautiful at the expense of any scientific observation that these actually blur your pores. Of the pore blurring primers that I tried, this one was my favorite, and I only had to get through about half of it. So between the luminizing primer and this primer, I'm really glad that I slimmed down my collection to the products that I'm actually using and love. Next up, I have the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, and I did not think I was going to get through this in addition to the other primers, but you know, it was halfway through. And I've been using it as mix-ins. I was using it to make cream blushes. I was using it in a lot of different ways, so I was able to get through the entirety of the product. And a lot of people swear by this product, and I've seen people being like, oh, you need to pack it in your skin, or you need to roll, or you need to do this. But I'm like, if you can't use your brush or a sponge, and you're just using your fingers, and it's supposed to go on your fingers, and it is a beautiful formula. It's enjoyable to use. And there's a specific way you're going to put it on. People are like, oh, you're just not pressing it in hard enough. And I'm like, no, that is not the reason that it didn't work. Trust me, I've used this entire thing. I have tried every trick in the book, including pressing it in, rubbing it in, massaging it in, leaving it in, leaving more, leaving less. Trust me, I have tried every trick in the book. This product and products like it do not do what they say they do. I don't recommend it, and I'm not going to buy it again. I'm throwing out the whole line of pore blurring products that I have. I have huge pores. I was born that way. Deal with it. Next up, the Fenty Pro Filter. Now, it was my fault for buying this a hair too light. I knew I was buying it a hair too light, so I don't think I loved it as much as I could have. I'm using the KVD Good Apple, not today, but that is my full coverage foundation, and I love it. I thought I liked it more, but the naturalness, the soft matte finish, the way it just gracefully wears off the edge of the day, at the end of the day, the way it gracefully absorbs and sits on your skin. This is an astonishingly beautiful formula. I love this product. I am so picky about the exact shade of foundation that I pick up that I didn't buy it again, but honestly, I'm still tempted to. That's how good it was. And I am kind of sad out of all these products. This is the only one that I am sad is gone. And also, I think this frosted glass bottle is a little bit higher quality and makes me feel kind of luxury, so I even like the packaging. Next up, I do have my rest of my facial products and kind of the more color line, but I do have my Kosas finishing powder I'll talk about next. Now, the thing about the Kosas powder is it looks really cakey, but it lasts so long. I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand, that as it wears off and it's still preserving your makeup and your overall look, it ends up with a really flattering finish by the end of the day. But when I first put it on, I never felt that it looked quite as amazing as I would like. You really have to use a light hand or it's just going to look cakey and powdery on your skin. The other issue I had with it is there's just too much pigmentation. There's 10 different shades, which really puts it in line with the foundation, and that's kind of what got me. I bought the lightest mini shade thinking, well, I'm light, but actually I need an even lighter shade that's only available in the full size. And I was tempted to get it because this is a really effective powder and it's a very oil absorbing powder. I just couldn't find a reason specifically to repurchase the Kosas in particular. So, honestly, I can't recommend it because there's better products out there, and maybe those products have preservatives in them, but they're better products. If you want the Cloud Set powder and you enjoy the Cloud Set powder, I would certainly understand because it is very effective, especially if you have oily skin. But I actually don't recommend it. There's better powders out there, and I'm not going to be buying it again because of that. I actually switched to, I want to say, I went from this to the Huda Beauty, and that one is far superior, so I'm not going to be rebuying this one. Next up, we have Tarte, and this came in the Fall Feels eyeshadow palette, and I just popped it out because I realized I'm never going to use a blush if it's hidden away in my eyeshadow palette, and this was a really small tin that I wanted to go through. It was a beautiful nudish pink, and if you used a lot of it, you could get quite a bit of pigmentation, but if you just tried to pick it up on a brush, one, this is so small that if you were swirling, you were getting the eyeshadow colors mixed in with the brush, which is just poor pan layout, and it's dumb, which is another reason I popped it out. And then you weren't getting any pigmentation. It was like, if blush doesn't show up on my fair skin, who is it for? I don't know. But Tarte's not exactly known for their innovative or groundbreaking pigmentation in their formulas, but I am kind of glad I got through it because, well, it was sitting in my collection not doing anything, and I did some things I made it a cream blush, I made it a shiny blush. Shiny, that's not the word. What do we use? Dewy blush. So I'm actually really happy I got through it. The idea that I would actually deliberately go out and purchase a Tarte blush after my experience with this one is kind of laughable. They're completely not pigmented, and slightly chalky, and it broke, and I don't recommend it, and I wouldn't ever buy it again. It just came in the eyeshadow palette, which I've pretty much stopped buying Tarte eyeshadows because I'm tired of being disappointed. Next up, we have the Tower 28, and this is in the shade, and this was a bronzer. It was supposed to be a bronzing contour color, like a cool toned bronzer. And let me tell you, that does not make sense. Now, I should have known better. I am very fair skinned. I need a grayish leaning contour. That is what works well with my skin tone, but I don't contour a lot, so I was hoping for one product that would kind of suffice for all my sculpting needs, and this Tower 28 cream was very highly reviewed. But let me tell you, this shade, and I did buy the lightest shade, well, would have if it were visible and I hadn't used it. It was way too warm. Even for neutral skin, it was way too warm to double as a bronzer and a contour. It just does not work. It has a yellow base, which doesn't work with a lot of undertones. And I'm pink, so again, I probably should have guessed, but it wasn't until it really hit my skin and I started spreading it out and working at it and that I really saw the undertones of this particular product to see just how yellow it was. Because when you look at it in the pan and you look at it online and you look at it swatched on your skin, it's going to look different than when you actually start applying it and start buffing it out. And that's when you're like, ooh, this is a yellow pigment. It was not brown leaning the way it looks in the pan. So I was just super disappointed. Yellow is just, it's really, really limiting on the people who can wear that shade. So I was disappointed, and I hated the product so much that I almost threw it out, but I kind of just buckled down and said, I am not the person who throws stuff away. I don't know why. There's no trophy for that. I should have just thrown it away, but I didn't. I got through it simply so I could trash talk it in this video. It is sticky as hell. So it gets all over your fingers, and then you try to apply it on your face, and it doesn't rub out and buff on your face well when you're using just your fingers, which have a relatively small pad for the size of skin that you want to cover, at least if you have my size forehead. And it would just kind of clump up your brush, and it wouldn't spread out very well on the brush either, just a little bit of a stiffer formula. So I tried using a sponge. Now I like to use my sponges a little bit on the drier side, but you can't use a dry sponge on this. It's like dragging sandpaper across a chain link fence, right? It's not, you're not going to pick anything up. So it really came down to using a wet sponge, and that really seemed to work the best. The water getting into the product and really soaking it up and making it more emollient, and then using my fingers to kind of work it in. Again, the heat from my hand combined with the water made it a little more doable. So as long as my sponge wasn't soaking wet, I could really make it work. And I did go through a phase where I'm like, I'm going to wear this blasted contour, not a thing anymore in my opinion. And then of course, you know, just to top it off, it really didn't dry down, so it kept that sticky feeling on the forehead. And this was supposed to be like Tower 28 is like all chalked up, but I'm telling you, I am not doing well with these like clean and natural products. Like they're just not sitting well and working with my skin. Yeah, I don't recommend that product. Now we get into the fun part where we start getting into color. So I'm moving into lippies. And what I have here is a mini Huda Beauty from I don't know how many years ago. Now this, as you're guessing, is not truly empty. It's just super dried. But honestly, the product itself was super drying. Comfort mats are definitely a thing now since she has launched this, but this is the original formula. And I honestly don't recommend it because it is, you know, terrible and uncomfortable and drying and thick, and then you just like peel it off and it makes every crack in your lips look horrible. But her new formula is a lot better. But I won't buy it because I do prefer my stick lip products to my liquid versions. I just think they're more flattering, more hydrating, and more easy to apply. I really only need one shade of Killer Red. That's all I need. But I'm glad whenever I have something in my collection that's been sitting a long time so that I can continue to, you know, use up what I can and get rid of, you know, at minimum, I'm decluttering the things that I can no longer use or that aren't in my collection. So I'm still happy to say goodbye to it, but it is one of about 6 liquid lipsticks that I am trying to get through before they all turn into kind of the same consistency as dried paint. Next up, I have the Mielle Clearly Brilliant Tinted Lips. And this is one of my favorites for a while. It's very hydrating. It's perfectly pigmented. It's a peach tint. It doesn't really sit on your lips for a long time, but that is the nature of the product. And, you know, it's super easy just to take a product like this, smack it on your lips without even looking. But it's, what more do you say about it? You know, it's a very unadventurous product, and if nothing is ventured, nothing is gained. So I do, you know, recommend it. It was enjoyable, but I will only buy it once I go through another about 6 or 7 lippies. And then last but not least is the KVD. I don't know what it's called. I've worn away a lot of it, but the shade is Lovesick. And if you're wondering how old this is the original. It is the KVD branding. When she was still involved. The fact that I was using it for so long is kind of questionable, but I did get through it, or most of it. I was really hesitant about the shade, being that it is so purple, and I thought it was going to show up purple and be very dark on me, but actually it's really flattering, especially if you have cooler toned skin. It is just a purple leaning pink, and it's not countercultural at all, aka it's really workplace appropriate for workplaces that are super conservative with that kind of thing. And even though it is a formula that isn't my favorite anymore, It is one of the more flattering liquid formulas that I have. It isn't drying, and they have a really incredible shade range if you are into that sort of bolder lip statement. So I do recommend it. I like this product. I don't know how you feel about the brand or how you feel about this particular shade, but I do like the product. I'm not going to be buying it, despite the fact that I do recommend it, and that's simply because I have a similar shade in the Sephora collection, which isn't as good a formula, but it's basically a duplicate shade. I am sort of sad to see it go. Next up, we have eye products. So I'll start with the easy one, which is the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I got this primer potion because people were swearing up and down about concealer, and I always felt that concealer on my eyes was way too heavy. It was uncomfortable. It didn't blend out right, and then you have to wait for it to dry down. I just never really enjoyed that process, but I need something to keep my eyeshadows from slipping, and so I tried the primer potion, which everyone said was like the best of the best, and it is. I lost a little cap on it, which is annoying. I think the wand could use a little bit more flexibility. I don't really like this type of packaging. I'm using Rare Beauty's right now, and I love her packaging compared to this. So, you know, it's not my favorite, but I will say, for being the OG and having gone through an entire tube of this, I see why people swear by it. If you are prone to creasing and you have oily lids, or you have veins that show through and you just need this little bit of extra protection when you're applying eyeshadow and you don't want to apply it to your bare lid, this product turned me into a believer. I do recommend it. I would buy it again, and this primer, it's around for a reason. Next up, we have this Kaja Trio with one primer and 2 different mascaras, and I ripped this apart. This is another product I did an ultimate review on, and I ripped it apart because it is terrible. I was probably a little bit generous in my review. Honestly, even when I look back on it now, you know, it's prone to clumping. The mascaras don't work well with each other. The clear primer / serum interferes with the mascara. It's horrifyingly bad brow gel. And they say it's a brow serum, and I'm like, it's not. You don't even have an application to apply it like a serum. And they don't play well with each other. It's just a system that doesn't system. And then the mascaras themselves. Honestly, though, when I think about Kaja, I've only had a couple other projects because people talk about them all the time, and I've seen them on other YouTube videos, and I'm just like, what do you guys like about them? Like, please let me know, because I have yet to have been impressed by any Kaja products. They're all of them have been maybe not terrible like this, but below average. So no, I don't recommend it. I think this product is a waste of money, and I would not be buying it again. It's another product that I'm glad to see go in the trash. Although, okay, I pointed this out. This is the funnest packaging. They do have really fun packaging. This was fun. The last 3 products are all eye products. Isn't it funny how things like come in waves like that? So finally, getting into the easy part. This is tiny pencil. So this was my Lancome eye pencil. I really loved L'Oreal when I was buying drugstore makeup. I loved just absolutely how smooth it was, how black it was, how creamy it was, how long it lasted. It didn't transfer, and I was looking for like the next thing that's better. So, and I heard a lot of people say Lancome was better. And this is a great pencil. You know, it's super dry now. And I did, you know, work it down to the nub, and I'm glad that I had it. But honestly, I think the L'Oreal was creamier. I think the L'Oreal was blacker. I think the L'Oreal did stay longer. The Lancome did transfer. If I used it as a pencil on my upper eyelids, I would end up with a black line on my hooded eye hood. I don't think the Lancome's really worth it. I think drugstore products are better. This is a very standard expected pencil, so I don't really know why you would buy it above anything other. So I don't really recommend it. Even when it was, you know, at the peak of its life, it wasn't as good as drugstore, so I won't be buying it again. Next up, we have Tarte, and what could be better than a classic Tarte Fake Awake and micro tip liner pen. I will say that it went a little faster than I expected and dried out pretty quickly. But that is to be expected because it is not technically a full-size container, so that's on me. Liquid eyeliner only has about a 6-month shelf life, so I don't actually mind going through it a little bit quickly. That's probably a little bit safer for your eye. And I do like the micro tip if you're the type of person who likes a micro tip. However, I have no problem doing a fine line with a thicker tip. And I do prefer a brush tip to the felt tip. But overall, if you're looking for this product, it is a really affordable, decent quality, very black liquid eyeliner. My biggest issue is that it broke. I'm really going to struggle to show you this on camera, but it bends at the base. And then that pretty much stops the ink from coming out. It means you can't get that super fine microtip line. So overall, if you have the money and you want a really good microtip liner, there's other brands out there. If you're fine with this particular product and you've been using it, I do totally understand why. It's a very, very fine microtip liner. And then moving on, I kept breaking it, which is a little disappointing. I do like the fact that it self-sharpens. It's completely gone. It's a great natural fake awake. I'm actually using House Labs, which is a little, their beige color is a little less, which I know some people would prefer that even more, but I do think the longevity and the price point of the Tarte is really hard to compete with. So this Fake Awake Brightener shade, I love, and I will probably always have a neutral or skin tone liner in my collection. If it's not Fake Awake, I'm honestly probably going to go back to it because I like the formula more than House Labs, as well as the color. I like the brighter color. I also do wear white in my waterline, and I know for some people that's really jarring. So overall, I kind of rambled on this one, so I'm really struggling to what do I say and how I assess it overall. The liquid liner is good. However, I don't like the microtip liner. I do not recommend it for that reason, but I do like Tarte's other liquid liners that have the more traditional longer tip that did not break on me better. And then as far as the brightener is concerned, I really think it's the OG, and I think it's a fantastic formula, so I do recommend it, and I am going to buy it again because I like it more than the alternate that I switched to. And then last but not least, you can't tell what this is because I've worn it away so much, but this is the KVD tattoo liner, and it's phenomenal. So is this a brush tip or a felt tip? Oh my god, this is a brush tip. It's the best tip that I've had on any product. It's better than my ABH. It's better than my Tarte. It's better than any designer and or drugstore brand I've ever had. This is the best tip that I've ever had. It stayed together. It didn't break. It produces a beautiful formula. It's black. It's inky. You do have to wait just a second to dry down. Even this cap is spring loaded. You see this? Like, it just really seals up tight and it doesn't leak. And it's so easy to apply because it's in a pen as opposed to like my dip liquid liner. I kind of like rethought my relationship with liner pens after I had this one because of how good it was. The only reason that I have not replaced it is because I am going through a dip pen that's older and I want to get through it before it expires. It is the perfect black liquid liner. I mean, just after almost a year's use, look how sharp. Maybe I need to learn how to hold my hand still. Look how sharp and clean and precise that pen is. So that is it for all the products that I reviewed, which is a grand total of 28 products, which leaves me feeling really good to, again, go through that in my collection, be a responsible consumer, and sort of figure out what I like and what I don't like and what I'm going to buy and what I don't want to buy. I'm hoping that that information helped you make decisions. Again, if you want to know more specifically about these products, with some of the newer launches, I do ultimate reviews where I go much more in depth with them and I try to quantify everything by a number so you can kind of know, like, not just is it good, but how much is it good and do I really think that way and does it compare with another project? So I do that line. Hopefully now that I have a little bit more time, I'll be back a little bit sooner than 6 months from now. But again, thank you for everything you do. Beauty is on the inside. Bye.